Thank you for joining me. This live stream is an energy healing session for the political process, specifically in America, but also for other countries of the world. I am very grateful for everyone who's here joining us. This is something that we'll be doing together. The most powerful and amazing work that's done in the field of energy healing is not done by the dictates of any individual, but is done by the dictates of that intelligence, that single underlying unified divine loving intelligence, which is the source of everything in creation. Therefore, it is not a big plan that I have that this healing is going to go in any particular direction. It is just an allowance of what is to be. I will not be mentioning any specific candidates or political parties or specific political events. The idea of this healing is to support the collective in such a way that as a unified whole, we are able to function in a way that allows maximum deservability. I realize that there are people watching who have a vast range of different political positions, and it is not my intention to act in favor of anyone over another. However, we all deserve to live a good life. So we're going to start. We're going to start with a healing for everyone watching this video. And what we want to do is we want to master the manifesting process, because the intention is to manifest a governmental structure which supports everyone, which supports the earth, which supports everyone's highest and best interests. So looking into the structures of the physiologies of everybody watching right now and those who will be watching in the future, this section, we're looking at the heart-mind axis. That means the relationship between these two areas of the body. They need to be coordinated with each other in order to successfully manifest. Think of a friendship. Friendships are where two people or more people come together, and in the course of their knowing each other, they understand each other better and better. The better you understand your friend, and the better your friend understands you, the better you can coordinate yourselves in order to enjoy the most in that friendship. So it is with the heart and the mind. The heart and the mind have this ability to know each other. They're very different from one another. But right now what we're doing is we're looking at, if you think of the energy a little bit like a figure 8, that it moves like this. There's the point in the middle where this heart and mind connect. And in that spot, in that junction between the two sides of the infinity sign, this is where unification is activating. The unification which is activating in that spot is coming from your own finest intelligence. That is to say that what we think of as ourself, again, here the friendship principle comes in, that we have to know ourselves. And if we understand ourselves to be physical only, then we miss a lot of the richness and the beauty and the joy of the human experience. So if we understand ourselves to be physical, but then also more abstract, there's the whole mental field of human experience, there's the emotional field of human experience, and then there are layers of human experience that are even finer than emotional. In my own perception, I divide that continuum into 8 layers. At the very, very deepest layer, Physiology doesn't look well defined like it does in the physical. It looks like a field, like an ocean, a great field. The closer it gets to the source of creation, the more it looks like the source of creation. And in that deep, abiding, eternal level of manifestation of who we are, the potential to create integration or unification exists. And so from that level of the physiology, integration is activating, and it's coming up into the throat area, and it's helping to unify the diverse energy frequencies between the heart and the mind. Isn't a highly successful political event the byproduct of unification, ultimately? That we have the number of individuals who come together and agree on the candidate that they like best, and they put their votes in, and then that's the candidate who gets elected. So it would be very powerful if the people of America or the people of Croatia and any other countries that are watching at this time can unify behind a candidate who has everyone's highest intentions at heart. One must deserve to have one's desires fulfilled. So everyone does deserve to have their desires fulfilled, but what's important here is to recognize and realize that, and not to block, not to self-sabotage the ability for deservability, not to self-sabotage deservability. So we need to look into deservability. Deservability is very simple. It's based on being. It's not based on that you worked hard and then you got something, or that you sacrificed and then you got something. Sometimes it's based on sacrifice, but it's better when it's based on devotion and the ability to align or befriend one's greatest manifesting potential. So, deservability, that comes from the heart. So we've got the integration between heart and mind. Now the work is taking place on the level of the heart to open up one's own internal sense of deservability and to found or base that sense of deservability on being alone. The fact that you exist justifies that you deserve to live comfortably, easily, gently, gracefully, happily, progressively. In unification, in unified state of wholeness with your own source. Being is another word for the source of creation, for the mother of the universe, for the father of the universe, all the universes. Here we're drawing in. There's streams or channels of consciousness that run from the different chakras like this. And what's happening is an awakening or a clearing, awakening and clearing out of the channels of energy that run from the heart and that connect you through your heart to the rest of creation. These channels allow us to be both transmitters and receivers to the cosmos, to the whole universe. And right now, receiving information through these clearly open channels of the precise energy frequency that aligns the heart with the ability to self-validate, self-love, self-accept, self-protect, and most of all, to be able to feel free, to deserve the best, to deserve fairly and honestly, to deserve truth, to deserve comfort, to deserve love. There are old impressions and memory patterns in the heart area that are communicating a different story, and that story goes up into this junction point here in the throat and says, well, I don't really deserve, I'm imperfect, and therefore I'm not completely lovable. And that's actually not true at all. That Even what we think of as our imperfections are themselves a tool by which the universe knows itself. If imperfections didn't exist, there wouldn't be a form through which divine light or divine understanding, divine being, divine intelligence could penetrate. So we need those boundaries. Boundaries are there to be penetrated by divinity. And as that happens, the divine knows itself better. So the boundaries and limitations, or those qualities that we think of as our faults, failings, or weaknesses, actually make us more valuable, more precious, more adorable in the eyes of the divine. They are a strength, in a way. When you hold a boundary in a particular area of the being for a long time, and then slowly, delicately, with all grace, the light of being moves into that area, it makes you so strong, it makes you so wise in that particular area. That's why we choose particular boundaries. You know, one person's great at math, but they're not so good in sociology, and another person's a great musician, but you know, they don't mend clothes very well or something. You know, they're all different. Everybody has different strengths and different weaknesses, and the areas that we've chosen to be our weaknesses are the areas that we've chosen to understand in terms of the diversity of creation, the lower frequency vibrations of creation and the high frequency vibrations going off to infinity at both ends. They reflect against each other like a mirror, like a room with mirrors on both sides, so that the wave of awareness or intelligence flips back and forth from side to side, multiplying the light of being, multiplying awareness itself to illuminate that particular area and to allow it to experience completion, totality, fulfillment, resolution. So it's the resolution that we're looking for in the political process. One of the reasons I wanted to have this live stream is I understand that the process taking place in America right now, the political scene in America right now, is one of the most amazing, dynamic, unusual, and intense that we have seen in many decades. My mother is in her 80s, and she says she hasn't seen a political event like this in all her life. It's quite amazing. It's amazing. And we're very fortunate because what we're looking at in the American political process right now is our extremely diverse energy frequencies, very diverse personalities, and they're interfacing with each other in a really dynamic way. And we have a kind of a fourfold division that I see, because in America we have a two-party system. We have the two different parties on one side and one on the other side, and then within each party they're divided by the working class of the majority. So you have the working class on both sides, and then you have the extremely wealthy on both sides. And what's happening is the two parties, by their nature, tend to stand on different sides of important political issues, social issues. And so the working class on the two sides are at odds with each other a little bit. You know, they stand on different sides of gun control and abortion and various other issues that are important to people. Whereas those individuals who are in the highest level of financial brackets are coming together, they're beginning to unify themselves. And so they're coming to, really, the two-party system looks like it's divided like this, but it's really divided like that. And so what we have is a kind of a dynamic exchange or relationship between these two sides. And then we've got a dynamism here as well. And so we've got this sort of, it's like having more than two eyes open. If you have two eyes open, you see in three dimensions. But if you have three eyes open or more, then we start to see multidimensionally. So it's forcing multidimensional perception on the part of the American people. It's forcing us, it's putting us in a position where we are uncomfortable unless we expand our vision and look more deeply into the topic of the political process. So I'm looking and seeing where the healing can take place. There is a very kind of enriching and dynamic push and pull against diametrically opposed positions. And this push and pull gives rise to the product, which it gives rise to an energy of transformation that brings the individuals to higher levels of progress, evolution, awakening, enlightenment. So rather than getting caught in the details of, the issues, what we're doing is we're looking at this dynamic structure that we have created as a people in America, and we're looking into that area that's like in the gap between the pushes and the pulls. And as we look into that, and it makes a very interesting shape in this case. Sometimes you've got two clearly defined opposites like that, but in this case it's not too clearly defined. We've got this kind of three thing going on, which is really interesting. So in this sort of threefold structure, and it almost becomes a fourfold structure because sometimes the wealthy are also standing on opposite sides. But ultimately, I think their end game is pretty much unified at this point. So we're looking into that area where the energy of transformation evolves or is birthed from the dynamic exchange of energies between the diametrically opposed parties. That energy, it's very powerful, but it's not very compassionate at this point. This is what I'm perceiving. I'm just taking a read on that energy. It's not holding gentleness. It's not very heart activated at the moment. There's almost no heart activation in that energy. Good thing we did healings for the heart just a minute ago, isn't it? I couldn't have predicted it, but there it is. So the heart activation continues. And what we're doing with the heart activation is working through the ancestral archive, working through the ancestral lines to support that quality, which runs from parents to children, parents to children, parents to children, down through the lines. And we're going back, we're following this line from parents to children back through the generations, way back. Looks like it wants to go back thousands of years, 3,000 years, 4,000 years. It wants to go back almost 4,000 years. It is a common thread that connects us all. That love is incorporated or connected to, integrated with the vision that a parent has for the child's potential. They look at that little child who can't do much when they're little, right? And sees, my son someday will be a great man, my daughter someday will be a great woman. Beautiful. Thanks. Question coming in there. Thank you, Terry. Yes, my darling. So one of them, everybody can see the question that's posted up here. And what we can see is that the hate and fear and dishonesty is standing diametrically opposed to this particular quality of love. It's not just a quality of love, it's a quality of vision for the future. It's a quality of looking to the next generation, adoring them and seeing the potential. That means broadening the horizon or the vision by which one understands one's own self. Because the parent understands themselves, but when they produce offspring and they see the potential in the child, it allows them to really appreciate themselves in a way that's even broader than what they would have normally thought. At some point, I'm middle-aged, right? So at some point in my life, I thought, well, probably in this lifetime, I will not become a world-class dancer or something like that, right? Like there's a point where you start letting go, of certain ideas about your own potential, but you look at your own child and the potential, whatever dream, whatever incredible, amazing, unbounded dream is out there, it still could be lived by children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren. And really, that's what we're dealing with. These are the stakes that we're dealing with in the political arena, because we're electing leaders who are going to make decisions that are going to affect our earth for generations to come. They already have. They already have. So the stakes feel very high, and I think that's one of the things that makes this process so heartfelt for all of us. So the activation of this particular quality of love, which is stable in the memory, in the archives of our own being, in our own DNA, there's a stability of this particular quality of love that passes from parent to child like that. And it goes back for thousands of years. It has a very specific flavor of expansion, of success, of adoration, of support. And it has precisely the energy frequency to counteract. This is why it's so beautiful. You guys were so intimately connected. This question is it precisely woven into this point about the quality of love, is that this particular kind of hatred and fear and dishonesty, it comes from greed and selfishness and trying to make it all, each side is trying to bring all the resources over to their side or whatever. It's counteracted by a love that looks to others as a parent looks to a child, with all adoration and all appreciation and honoring the vision of the potential that's in that other individual. So rather than standing kind of across from each other and I'm against the other side and I'm against the other side, understanding that there really is no other side. Each of us is the antenna of the entire universe. Your universe is yourself. We are all the universe. There's a level. At the dense level of the physiology, all we see is this little physical body which has limitations, and I'm over here and you guys are all over there and everybody's separate from each other. But if we go down to deeper, finer levels of the physiology appears very abstract. And as I mentioned, the celestial level of physiology is absolutely a field that ranges from the beginnings of the Big Bang to the collapse at the other end of this manifestation, and it stretches into every corner of creation. And so this field of the self, we overlap completely. We don't just overlap with each other as human beings, we overlap with all the planets and the stars and all the beings at all various strata of creation, the beings of very fine levels of creation, the beings of the very dense levels of creation. It's all one's own self. It's all one's own self. And this is the antenna that perceives it. This is both a transmitter and a receiver of cosmic information. So we're both producing those influences that shape and change our environment, but we're also innocently receiving what we see, what comes in from the environment as well. The perception that they are over there, that the other political party is, completely opposed, stands in opposition to me, is essentially an illusion. What's happening is that within myself, I have set up a dynamic situation where I have a push and a pull between two sides that appear to be different from each other, in order to produce that third product, which is the energy of evolution, the energy of transformation, the energy of progress. This is where we're focusing the attention, is on the energy of progress. And what we're doing with that energy, I'm just reiterating, is we're flavoring it. We're flavoring it from the level of the celestial body with this particular quality of deeply abiding love, which has stabilized itself in the consciousness of humanity as that way in which the beloved parents look at the beloved child and see the potential and know that child to be able to accomplish anything. This is just what the energy between the push and pull wanted to do. I'm only explaining it. I'm not making it. We could say that our collective is making it. As a collective, we are making the energy, we are befriending the energy in such a way as to support its own self-production so that it makes itself in the shape that it needs to make in order to heal our political process and to heal the political processes in other countries as well. So what we have going is the individuals who are running for different offices and those who have been involved in politics for a very, very long time have been gripped by the illusion. They've looked at this push-pull, right? And they've been gripped on one side or the other of the illusion rather than focusing on the byproduct of the push and pull. They've gotten sort of caught up on, yay, we're the good guys, or oh no, we're the bad guys, or maybe the bad guys think they're the good guys, and vice versa. It's too complicated. We need to pull everybody into the center. We're just pulling everybody in to that point where the perspective broadens out and you can see the push on one side and the pull on the other side and realize that the push and pull are necessary in order to create a dynamic situation that gives rise to evolution. And the focus is on the evolution. The focus is on the evolution. The focus is on the evolution. Okay, so I'm looking into this collective. We're looking into the collective of America, and we're looking also secondarily out into the collective into other countries. And what we're seeing is the idea, what is evolution, is defined very differently from one person to another. Now, we know that that pure raw energy is there in the center, which will support the evolutionary process. But then we've got people pushing it, well, evolution means this to me, and evolution means that to me. So the thing is this, as long as the mind is gripping an idea of what evolution is, then we are limiting that vision. Because ultimately, the vision of highest evolution, of most exalted state, of complete unification. We're going towards Earth unification ultimately. Everybody needs to realize that, or know that it is the nature of humanity to want to function like a loving family. The vision, even outside of my description, deserves to be structured by unity itself, by the source of creation itself, by divinity itself, by the highest intelligence in creation itself. So what's happening, very interesting, remember earlier these channels of energy opened in the heart chakra and we started receiving cosmic information. Well, now what's happening is Earth also has her streams. She has her channels of consciousness. And there's a direct information being received from the center of our galaxy into Mother Earth to help expand and evolve her own vision for what the potential of the life on her body can become. It's very interesting. It's actually causing a restructuring and I'm getting validation from nature. I've got 3 big windows in front of me and the birds are starting to come. Anyway, but even as I was seeing the birds, I was seeing and catching things in their mouths and stuff, is at the microbial level of Earth. This is an upgrade. This is a healing, purification. What I'm seeing, to my dear Terry here, is that, and other people can ask questions too if you want, but is that the tendency for individuals to get caught in their greed or their narrow vision, evolution of the earth means, killing off most of the 5 billion people or something like that. There are people who have visions like that, like the idea of evolution is to kill most of humanity and things like that. I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong. I'm just saying that the expansion of the vision, the letting go of one's individual intellectual grip on what evolution means, and allowing a higher vision, a higher purpose to come in and to share with all of us, for us to share in that higher vision collectively. We do it as a byproduct of synchronizing ourselves with each other. The more we can function as a big, loving family of humanity even now, the better we will be able to express that higher vision for humanity, that higher vision for Earth. Earth is also receiving. So she's getting a kind of a cleansing of those channels of information. And I'm just watching and feeling I'm just watching and feeling the releasing of heat. It's releasing heat through certain channels. These beams or streams, they run from the very core of Mother Earth out in every direction. You can think of Earth's physical body like ours as well. Oh yeah, there she is behind me. You know, well defined, like this is her edge and this is her center and so forth like that. This is my edge and, you know, I got the internal, external parts. But energetically, Earth is much bigger than that. Energetically, Earth is also like a star in that not photons flowing out in every direction, but consciousness radiating. Earth has a radiance of consciousness. She's got her subtle bodies. And the subtle bodies are being affected by these cosmic rays or cosmic streams of wisdom, knowingness, intelligence, awareness. And they are beginning by affecting the microbial level of Earth. It is my perception at this time that individuals who hold very limited views of the future of our Earth and humanity, that individuals who function from a foundation of greed and selfishness, are doing so in part because the microbial level of their physiologies does not support a higher level of thinking and functioning. Their guts, it's in the guts. So what's happening is like putting air conditioners all around the room that you want to cool down. That the microbial structure, the intelligence that's coming into Earth at a microbial level is upgrading. And starting to expand in the qualities of this particular love this love energy that was established at the beginning of this healing session. This ability to clue in to the transformative value that comes from the dance between the light and dark, or the dance between diametrically opposed values. That energy, that transformation energy, is communicating at the microbial level of Earth. And it's balancing in the oceans, in the waters. So much balancing in the waters. And it's going to help cool the waters. We needed this. It's going to help cool. I'm feeling a lot of discordant feelings being released as a byproduct of this transformation at a microbial level of Mother Earth. There's a lot of sadness. And there's also despair. And, you know, I understand that these feelings of sadness and despair and hopelessness have been held in the hearts of Americans, certainly, and it's very likely in other countries as well, over the collective effect. You know, basically the collective consciousness of the country manifests as the administrators who then make decisions. And it's inevitable that within the collective consciousness, there will be those individuals who are more broad thinking, more perhaps more intelligent, more knowledgeable, and those who are less, who are more simple, or who just, you know, follow what other people tell them. And those people who are in the leadership position have to balance the entire range of the collective consciousness. So, you know, if you have people who are just silly And they have silly ideas of how problems are going to be solved that aren't practical. And then you have people with really, really brilliant, mind-bogglingly brilliant ideas of how problems can be solved. The leader has to somehow find a solution that's between those two visions. And it's not an easy thing to do. And I'm sure that people who take political positions, we watch them. I'm sure in all the countries you can see these people who take high political positions, and they age a lot during the time that they're in office. I'm sure we've all seen this. We've all seen this with our presidents. It's amazing how much they age while they're in office because they have a constant push and pull on them. And unless they are able to find that sweet spot in the middle, where the push and pull gives rise to the energy of transformation, they will be torn apart. Therefore, we want to find the sweet spot for everyone. How can the political leader find the sweet spot if most of the people aren't there themselves? Right? Because they are naturally, spontaneously, and innocently the reflection of the collective. So what we need to do is we need to find the sweet spot for everyone. It's a big task. That's a big thing to do. I'm looking into the collective consciousness of the people on Earth in all the countries. And I want to again thank the people who sent in the question from Croatia, because out of fairness, it's important that everybody receives the benefit and not just Americans. Thank you. So for everyone, what we want to do is we want to look at this dynamic relationship that takes place at a very fine level of creation. We can see it on the surface. It's like when you see it at the densest level of the physiology, it's like the battle between good and evil. But when we look at it at the very, very finest level of creation, it's a kind of an underlying hum of dynamism that really gives rise to or produces energy that causes the whole manifested field to evolve forward. So we want to get down to that level. We want to get down to that very fine, like at the core, at the seed level of where that dynamic process occurs. And we want to do that for the whole of mankind. Thank you to all the people who are here in the audience with me. Such amazing healers, such profound, evolved, expanded consciousness souls. Thank you. And we're just going to find this spot. We find it in ourselves. It automatically activates and enlivens for the whole of humanity, because that's the level where we overlap with everyone in humanity. At the very, very finest level of that sweet, deep, humming interface, that dynamic expression of energy. And that what we want to do is we want to find the sweet spot and allow awareness to settle into that junction between the push and the pull. And I'm feeling it, and it's just luscious. And so what I'm doing in this feeling now is, and the reason I'm giving you the internal mechanics of what's going on is because you also have this potential to do this. Anytime you can do it with anything. I've found the sweet spot, and what I'm doing is I'm letting it go. I'm dropping it into the field of my own infinite silence. Like offering flowers at the feet of God. Like gems. Like offerings of love back to the divine. And what it does is the field of divine being, the source of creation, the intelligence behind everything in the universe, the intelligence which is everything in the universe, is activated by that energy. That sweet spot energy is so incredible. It's so luscious. It's so dynamic. It's so just beyond any words to describe something that you adore. And it stretches out to the field of infinity. It's like in a chamber of mirrors on both sides, and it's reflecting off of itself at infinite speed. And it's multiplying to infinity, and it's multiplying in the waters. It's multiplying in the waters of Earth, in the consciousness of all the beings of the oceans. And it's stretching out and it's multiplying into the beings in the ground and in the soil and in the stone and in the mantle of Mother Earth and the crust of Mother Earth and the mantle of Mother Earth, in the air and all the people, not just humans. You know, we think, oh, all the fleshy beings of the earth, you know, we are the beings of the earth. There's so many beings. There's so many beings of the earth. There's so many subtle physiologies and beings, very, very eternal beings in the depths of Mother Earth. You know, there's a great ocean inside Mother Earth. I don't know if you knew, it's as big as something like 3/4 of the oceans on Earth. There's an ocean inside the Earth. So many beings. And so many different kinds of physiologies you can't imagine. Not just fleshy physiologies, but subtle physiologies. Physiologies made of light, made of air, made of water, made of fire, all different kinds. And through our whole solar system, there are many, many, many kinds of beings. We all speak the same language of perception and experience. So through that level, we have communicated with all the beings that the sweet spot is the location from where the healing to the political process is performed. And then this big, great political process, our big countries with so many millions of people in it, it becomes a very kind of a small thing. Oh, millions. Millions is just small compared to all the beings in creation. Even just all the beings on our earth or all the beings in our solar system. So that sweet spot, the energy of that sweet spot is literally moving into all the government buildings. It's creating like a sort of a sacred center, a sacred silent center in all the government buildings. Not just in America. To all the countries, whatever country where we have people watching, may it also be received in those countries. And if in the future we have people watching from other countries, as the time is right, then it will move to each country. When, you know, maybe right now we don't have anyone watching from, say, China, but at some point we'll have people watching from China, and then it will go to their buildings. And why it cannot go to their buildings now, Ma? Because it is the dynamics of slowing down the process and letting the light flow in somewhat gradually that allows for the deepest possible appreciation of the mechanics and the nature of divine being penetrating and expressing through the relative field of creation. Okay. So in this country, in each city, in each state, in each district, in each area, in the federal government area in Washington, D.C., we're seeing this quality of energy moving into the silent center of each building, creating the silent center and then infusing it with this light of pure evolution, pure transformation. And it makes a kind of a grid around the world. And from the celestial and causal, from the deeper levels of the physiology, there are no boundaries in space-time. So even that it will happen in the future is enough to establish stability in that grid. Because this kind of grid, this kind of light grid, is functioning from a level of laws of nature that are not bound by space-time. Now, orderliness, there are fine adjustments taking place in the grid, like tweaking the grid to adjust it so that the proportions and relationships between the sizes of the beams of consciousness, between the distances between them, between the nodes and everything, that everything is adjusted according to sacred geometry. So it's extremely pleasing, aesthetically pleasing. And I'm just feeling that adjustment. And that adjustment is a way for us to understand the download that came to the microbial level of Mother Earth, that one of the values of the intelligence that infused into that level of life force on Earth had to do with relationships within the field of sacred geometry. They're discovering the bacteriological level of Earth, the viruses, the very fine intelligences. You know, a lot of these intelligences are essential for life. They're discovering that when they structure relationships based on sacred geometry, that their potential increases multifold. Their potential particularly to align with cosmic evolution. That means to align with the well-being of all life. That means to support life, to support just as a bacteria or a virus could hurt a human body, so a bacteria or a virus can restructure itself to literally transform a human body to superhuman, to manifest in the human body in such a way as to make us so powerful and so amazing. Anybody who missed any part of this live broadcast can go back and pick up the whole thing later. When it's done, it'll go up online in its completeness. And thank you everyone for joining me. So, going back into the political process, we've now done a healing for the soul or the center of all the buildings where the people who work must reside during their work hours. And within that, then an expansion or an extension of that is to build a kind of selenite grid through all the buildings. So there's the silent center, but then there are the channels of energy that surround and run through the building and under the buildings and above the buildings and in the air around the buildings, so that each building is protected in a kind of sacred, orderly space. So the thinking is more orderly. So the decision-making is more aligned with supporting of life. We're looking into the hearts of all those individuals who have self-selected to be part of the political process, all of them, into their hearts. And what we want to do is establish that sense within each of them of their own deservability and their unification, through that deservability, their unification with all the people, all the working people, the working class, the working poor, the poverty, people in poverty, all the layers of society. It has to integrate. And I'm just looking across the spectrum of the hearts of the people in society. We know that a lot of the people at very high political levels in countries are very, very wealthy, and they have great comforts, and they live in dignity. And obviously, they know that they deserve that. They must feel they deserve that because that is what they have structured for themselves. However, out of fairness, everyone deserves that. And there is enough wealth in this earth for literally everyone to live in dignity, for everyone to live in comfort, for everyone to have enough food, and to have a clean environment to live in. So that is translating through the physiologies of the political leaders to their constituents, to all of us, to everyone. There were blockages. I love that question that came in earlier from Terry. I presume you guys can see people's names. Anyway, about the hate and the fear and the dishonesty. The hate, fear, and dishonesty, and I would add to that greed and selfishness, have gotten into the matrix of life that connects everyone and have blocked off those people who are in positions of high power and wealth from all the masses of people, the much larger body of people who are struggling day to day to just make ends meet. And so those channels have been blocked with those darker energies. And what's happening is looking and seeing them, seeing the color and the flavor and the consistency of those energies. And then, again, I'm just throwing in the mechanics here, dropping that vision into pure silence. And just saying, Ma, what would you do about this? What can we do about this? What can be done about this disparity between the very, very wealthy portions of society and all the working class people? Compassion is flowing through the channels. I love it that we have the chat box open, guys. I'm feeling the compassion flowing, and it's starting to clear out those channels, and it's starting to open up. Also, another thing that seems to be moving through there is there's been a lot of like deception and disguise and camouflaging truth and what's going on. A lot of times, for example, and I don't know about how it goes in Croatia, but I know that in America, a lot of times if lawmakers want to pass a law that they know the people aren't going to like, what they do is they hide the part that we aren't going to like inside another law, and the other law is, looks like something that everyone's just going to love. Like, they make a law for, protecting babies. Everybody wants to protect babies, but then they hide this other little piece in there, that's like, it's okay to make baby formula with genetically modified organisms or something like that. And they hide that inside the protecting babies law or amendment or whatever. And so there's a sort of deception thing that goes on. So the other thing that's moving through this channel, this matrix, we can call it a matrix of life. It's connecting from the whole political structure of America down through all the constituency, all the people of the country, is a clarity, transparency, truth. And again, all this transparency and clarity and truth is really being produced by our own physiology. So we get to enjoy, how are we a fountain of purity? How are we a fountain of truth? We get to enjoy that feeling of that energy as it's flowing. We become, as I said before, we're both receivers and transmitters of the light of being. Okay, nice. I'm going to this comment by Richard. So the solution to Terry's question is, through enlivening unconditional love from the deepest level, the source, and also on the level of the microbes. Can you clarify? Oh, wow. Yeah, let's bring some clarity, shall we? Thanks for the question. I really appreciate the depth of thinking that goes behind these questions. You guys are brilliant. Thank you. The microbial level of creation, the human level of creation, the Davic level of creation, all are connected through these beams or channels of consciousness, streams or filaments of consciousness, rivers of consciousness. They flow out of our chakras, and they flow inside our bodies. We call them meridians, and outside our bodies they form this amazing web of life that literally connects everything to everything, including galaxies, and just everything connects. And what's happened thus far is orderliness. Orderliness is going into these channels, particularly in the areas where political decisions are made. So in the state houses, in the houses, in the White House, in the houses of Congress, etc. The other thing is, through these channels, now that orderliness has been created in these areas, the beams or the streams of energy are being infused with pure truth, transparency, light, clarity. So the deception no longer becomes possible. And in our internet, God bless the internet for keeping us informed of all kinds of things that could otherwise be hidden. So through that, and may it be anchored, may our internet be anchored at a level of unified wholeness, which is bigger than any political process ever, that is bigger than any power, individual, isolated power on earth. May it be anchored in the power of wholeness, in the unification of everyone. As I mentioned earlier, one of the directions that life is moving right now is in the direction of unification, world unification. World unification means the ability to love and adore and accept and honor differences, and at the same time hold on to the principles which must be unified in order for us to function as a wholeness, as a coherent, synchronized wholeness. Synchrony. Synchrony is coming into the matrix. Excellent. Remember earlier we were talking about the microbes, and then all the birds started coming and started being busy outside my house. Synchrony with the birdies. That synchrony can do so many amazing things. It's one of those things, when the synchrony gets moving through the collective consciousness, that causes even the weather patterns to adapt themselves to support various activities and so forth. Like the winter that came during the Second World War, the winter that came to Moscow, you know, that basically put an end to a large degree to the Second World War. That's what we need, is a level of synchrony between ourselves and nature, not just among ourselves, because of course among ourselves that makes us very powerful, but also among ourselves and nature as nature. So right now, this is what's happening, is that the celestial levels, the physiologies, are activating or enlivening their humming in a frequency of pure synchronization. We're tuning up like an orchestra. And that synchrony is luscious, it's delicious, and it reminds me of the energy of transformation that we were looking at earlier, when we get the dynamic push and pull of diametrically opposed positions, and then that third energy comes out, which is the energy of transformation and evolution. And what we're doing is, I was just asking Ma, what do you want to do with the synchrony? And the wholeness, the totality of creation, the source of creation says to bind it with the energy of transformation, evolution, awakening. So it's like a formula or a recipe. We're creating a mix. So consciousness can flow in very, very, very simple terms, but it can also flow in cases where healing is required. It can flow like a medicine that has a very specific quality to it, has characteristics unique. So we've created the next layer up, where it's like we're building a cord. And the first layer of the cord is that energy of pure evolutionary transformation. And the second layer of the cord is synchronization. Synchronization is a little different from integration or unification, because it doesn't mean necessarily being all the same. It just means being able to work together in a way that is mutually supportive for everyone. Yeah? So I'm just feeling these waves, and waves, literally energetic waves, are starting to flow. And whenever that happens, mechanics here, everybody, go back into silence. Offering it like flowers at the feet of God. In the field of pure being, this combination of evolutionary transformation and synchronicity sparkles. Sparkles. And it is definitely affecting the air. It is affecting what we would call the intelligence that oversees and governs weather, among other things. The beings of the air, the beings of light, that level of our reality, of our universe, remembering that the whole universe is the self. And what's happening is, we created this energy, we gave it back to the divine distributed it into the air and into all the beings of light. The beings of light love it so much. They love it so much that they are blessing back into humanity, the beings of Earth, the humans. They're blessing it back into us as pure knowingness. Pure knowingness. And the pure knowingness is coming into both the heart and the mind at the same time. So it's coming in such a way as to create greater wholeness, greater balance. And for all those individuals in the political process, may it please go to all of them. To all those individuals who support the political process, to all those who wish and dream and desire what we need. I think one of the big problems that the American political process has faced is that individuals have such passionate ideas about who they want to represent them, that their passion has stopped them from being able to let go and release their attachment to the outcome. So disattaching just a little bit from the outcome being a particular certain way is one of the great keys to supporting an outcome which will be maximally beneficial for everyone. This is very important. We need to do this. We all need to do this. When a political process is as dynamic as the one that we're looking at in the US right now, people start to feel pretty intense about stuff. And it's that feeling of intensity that binds or limits the outcome. Here's another thing. Through force, it is possible to make an outcome come out a certain way. By, say, deception in the political process, for example. It's possible to, rig voting machines or to force at a gross material level. However, that kind of forcing, that may work a little bit once or twice. That may work once or twice. But in the long run, the larger intelligence of creation is going to come forward. This is what this download is coming to us from the air, from the intelligence in the air, from the intelligence of the wind, from the intelligence of the clouds, from the intelligence of the light around our earth, is that only by acting in synchrony, only by befriending this level of nature's intelligence can you really, in the end, get the result that you really care about. In the short term, one can force things, but in the long term, forcing never ends up working. So it's the other way around. It's by softening. It's by sweetening. It's by letting go. So we're clearing for a lot of people. We're clearing particularly in their mental and emotional bodies in the 4 denser levels of the physiology. Physical, etheric, mental, and emotional. Clearing attachments, for some people pain bodies, expectations, judgments. Clearing through layers of ancestors, through thousands of years, really. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 3,000 to 4,000 years we're looking at. We're clearing expectations, judgments, attachments, and pain bodies. Also, we start going back also impressions and illusion. That has sold the idea that the way you get things done is you force them. You muscle through them. No. In the end, cosmic evolution is an irresistible flow. In the end, cosmic evolution will always win out, because that is the nature of evolution. It has support from a level of creation much greater than humanity, even greater than the whole of the human race. There we go. Feeling a lot of good energy flowing now. Feeling a lot of clearing happening, particularly in the torso, head area of the physiologies. So I'm just, when that energy starts to move like this really intensely, I like to fold it back, offer it again at the feet of God. I'm feeling hearts melting. Hearts are just melting. They're just melting. And you know, it's an interesting lesson that if the person that you wanted to get elected doesn't get elected, it does not stop you from using your melting heart as a foundation or an inspiration for actions which support life. Devotion is still an option. Devotion is still an option, even if one's chosen candidate is not elected. Devotion is still an option. And devotion aligns one with cosmic evolution. Devotion creates a befriending between the individual and the great, powerful forces of evolution, which structure everything in creation, which go beyond individual human manipulations. I'm still offering because the energy is still flowing really intensely. And also letting go. We're just letting go or releasing. There's a lot, it's like a big sweat or something. It's releasing a lot of discordant energies from people's physiologies. A lot of there's habits and patterns, thought patterns, like deep root thinking patterns around kind of making situations more dynamic than they need to be, sort of doom and glooming situations, and oh, you know, this one event happened, now everybody's upset about it. No, you know, the thing is that anytime that negativity starts to flare up and show itself, we know that it's because the dynamic situation is being created whereby the positive and negative work with each other. They go into their cosmic dance, and the third energy is created of evolutionary transformation. So any negativity is a clear sign. It is an indication that we're getting into evolutionary transformation. You just want to get into the evolutionary transformation part of it. Let the heart flow in that area. That's what's doing. It's moving forward like a lion taking one step in front of the other, even though it's inside its cage. It can still take one step in front of the other. And it's releasing, it's causing a releasing of a great tensions. There have been tensions which have been sort of pulling or restricting, like constricting the blood flow, you could say, not necessarily in the circulatory system, but yes, in the circulatory system of some people, but within the collective of what we would call our political system, the heart of our political system. It's as if the blood flow has been constricted, and the ability for love to flow as a foundational consideration or constituent for behind a foundation, behind the decisions and the policies and the actions of our lawmakers. The heart is healing, and that healing heart again is being offered like a flower at the feet of God, so that the potential for bliss. Blood is bliss, by the way. The flow of blood in the body is the flow of bliss. So the potential for happiness, for fulfillment, for completion, for resolution, for satisfaction, for comfort, for dignity in the lives of the individuals can be realized. It's opening up the constrictions, the plaque on the inside of the vessels is dissolving. It's dissolving with the solvent of light awareness, which is penetrating through the sacred structure of this matrix which connects all of our political system, all of the individuals in the politics, and connects them to all the people in the country. It's dissolving with the light of truth. And it's dissolving with that beautiful, powerful, passionate love by which the parents look to their children and see the potential of the future. And the synchronicity comes in and acts like a kind of a support, and it allows everything to realign itself, so everything lines up with that clarity and that truth. So in a sense, we now have a third note in the chord. We started out with the energy of transformation and evolution, and then we added in synchronicity, and now we're adding in layers of truth, clarity, transparency, honesty. Oh, honesty is a great quality to have in our political system. Offering the chord, offering the triad at the feet of God, like a flower, like a gem, like a gift. This is actually healing people's hearts, by the way. Anybody who has a heart condition is also receiving healing in their circulatory system, in their actual physical heart. And it's allowing the heart. What happens is when the system gets out of alignment and it gets ill, it can cause the organs and the actual structure in the circulatory system in the heart to start to try to compensate for the imbalance. And so then some part of the heart gets a little bigger, and some other part is weaker, and like that. And so what happens is balancing. We're balancing because once you have a triad, do, mi, so, mi, do. You get those three notes together and they resonate in a frequency which is, it activates the cellular memory of the physiology. Very, very fine level of memory in the physiology, cellular memory level. It's a sound. Think of these three values as notes in a chord that produce a sound that you cannot exactly hear with your ear unless you're clairaudient. But instead, we hear it with our souls. And it activates a memory pattern in the physiology at a very, very deep level of the DNA in the cells. It reminds the cells of the body what it is to be really healthy. And it reminds the leaders in our political system what it means to function for the sake of the whole, to be servants of society. We deserve political leaders who act through devotion to serve society and to serve the people of the country. We all deserve this. And the only way to manifest it is to know that it's a possibility, and then offer the vision of that possibility to the feet of divine being, and then allow divine being to structure it. Divine being can figure out how that process is going to unfold. How is it going to happen? And I'll tell you, it's happening now. In America, we've got the greatest show on earth practically going on over here with the comings and goings of this whole political arena and the spectrum and the amazing diversity of personalities and political platforms and so forth. It's just fantastic. It's absolutely amazing. So I offer to everyone on this live webinar that what you can do is remember that when you start seeing the swing of the pendulum from the right to the left and from the rich to the poor and so forth, remember that the pendulum is swinging like that so that you can find the center. Because in the center is your power spot, is that energy of evolutionary transformation. And when you start to see the swinging going on, and you can use the swing, you use the diversity as like a gauge to show you where the center is. You find your way to the center, and from the center, all possibilities emerge. From the center, the very best possible outcome can manifest. Do not expect that we are going to make it manifest. Any expectations are just going to muddy up the process. Rather, stay in that center space, offering always to the feet of one's divine being, and then let the divine show us what's going to happen. Let it unfurl the way it wants to unfurl. It'll be very interesting that way. It's more interesting. If you knew what was going to happen before it happened, it would be so boring. And this way it is so interesting. It's actually fun. It actually can be fun. So I offer the suggestion, when we get to the fun, we add in the 7th to that chord, that bliss value, which is so healing to the circulatory system and allows us to really enjoy this process. Because believe me, one can use any excuse to be miserable, but we can also use the same exact set of circumstances to be incredibly joyful. So may this unfoldment of the political process in America be a source of great, tremendous joy and bliss for everyone as we watch it unfurl, unattached to the way in which it unfurls, but just knowing that by holding steady, and we have now established this chord, we've established a chord in the matrix of humanity for our country and for the world, for the other countries, and for Croatia. And India. We have different countries represented here. So that the very highest possible outcome is what we're going to get. We'll get what we deserve. The people of America will get what we deserve. So we need to, from one's own self, establish that state of purity and wholeness, and just enjoy the show. So thank you, everyone, for joining me for this live stream. It's been really fun. We've come to our hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to admit, I have a secret to admit to all of you. I'm not particularly technical. And I'm not even 100% sure that I know how to stop this live stream. So, yeah, I think it's time to stop. I want to thank everyone for joining me. I hope you love this live stream and love to watch it on repeats.